This is the Puerto Rican Punisher Babe telling you to check out Chop's videos on YouTube. He's got the best collection of classics in New England wrestling and professional wrestling in general. So go ahead, subscribe, give him a follow, give him a like, and hit the bell notification so that you get the latest videos when they drop. Y no te olvides que guste o no te guste, Chop Videos, esa es la que hay.
It was supposed to do an interview with Brittany Brown. You ever heard of Brittany Brown?
Nah. Is she what is she after me or?
Oh no, way before. She was like a women's wrestler for years and years under Killer Kowalski and
wow.
IWF women's champion for like 15 years. Oh yeah, she was been around.
Eddie Edwards probably knows her really good. He was a Kowalski kid. That was a big ass name. That the locker room presence. If you want to talk about somebody, Eddie Edwards. My God, dude. Always very quiet and humble backstage, but we knew he was going to be special right early on. He was already like doing all the right things before like even people knew what that was. Like he was like baby Triple H back there. You know what I mean? But man, and I don't mean that in like the, you know, any of the negative ways. I just mean like work ethic and learning how to promote himself and like doing all the right trainings and all that. Eddie Edwards was brilliant backstage. I knew his wife very well early in her life too. She was Yankee Pro. Her mom helped Joe promote a little bit, kind of backstage, you know, bringing flyers around and stuff. And all the kids did that. And I knew her very well. She dated my best friend really early on. So very, very cool girl back in the day. I haven't talked to her since. She's probably sick of me because I was just a pain in the ass like her entire life when I knew her. But Alicia was a great kid, and her friend Latasha, Luscious Latasha, is what her wrestling name is. She's doing great. She wrestles in Japan all the time. Did some pretty big things. She was a sweetheart her whole life. Really good people.
Is she an Impact now, Latasha?
I don't think so. I think she's been a special guest. She's been on NXT before. I want to say she wrestled LaRue, the LeRae, Candice LeRae, once there. She did have a pretty good following in Japan, though. She was wrestling like really big names over there. I don't follow Japan enough to like bullshit it, but I'm saying like I know for a fact she's had some major Japanese events and big matches.
Yeah, Eddie's done great for himself, man. He's doing a huge angle now with the ROH stuff. I don't know if you watch it, follow it now.
I know a tiny bit enough to be dangerous, but he just always has been though. He's always been like his work ethic was almost crazy when we were coming up because he just was always working, always doing something wrestling. Like we all talk it like wrestling's our life, wrestling's our life. But I mean, I was partying, I was hanging out with people and doing things socially, doing high school things still. You know, and life happened. Like people like Mikey B, Eddie Edwards, those guys, they freaking like would set up a ring in their driveway. Like they didn't care. They'd work in any ring, do anything, learn anything, talk to anybody. Like that's really like what the difference was there. They like I went in there and I luckily had some gift in there at all, and I didn't have to do all that. But like those guys did everything they could to be professional wrestlers.
Any memories on his partner, DC Dillinger?
I didn't know him very, very well, but I know that was one of the most loved people on earth. He was already kind of like big when I was newer, so like I was a little intimidated to really get close to him and stuff at the level I was at. Not because of anything he did, just more about, you know, there's a certain respect in pro wrestling, and you don't go fanboy or bother people. Tremendous talent, tremendous impact on the business locally. Tremendous impact on George Carroll, tremendous impact on people that really needed it, like the ones that he had to have had something very special about him because everybody that was around him became something even more than they were.
Probably about the same at Roxy and Sean Gorman.
Yeah, and I didn't know them I mean, they weren't talking to me. You know what I mean? I was kind of a chubby, big, loud southeastern Massachusetts kid that felt pretty lucky to be there, you know, in my mind at least. And I'm sure some people either love or hate me. There's no like I can take them or leave them. I'm very polarizing. So it's for those guys, I was more intimidated by them. Like Slick Wagner Brown, um, like superstar when I was a kid. He was a New England like Titan. You know what I mean? One of the nicest people from what I hear, but I never talked to him because I was completely intimidated by him. Names like that. You look like a mark, and when you're growing up and showing up, you don't want to look like a mark. You want to be cool and accepted. You know, it's kind of the way it is. But looking back, I wish I would have. Dr. Heresy was the first person I ever marked out at. It was at an XWA show, the first XWA show. Look at what they do now. But we were at the Civic Center where URI plays basketball back in the day. I wrestled El Bariqua, and he was that was a good show. But I mean, I marked out for Dr. Heresy. I went up and said, Dr. Heresy, I'm Bobby Biggens. He goes, I know your name. I was like, you have no idea, man. You're probably my favorite indie talent. Like you're who I want to work. Like number one, who I want to work. But that was one of my last shows. It was right before I left.
What about Chris Hansen?
Another guy. I wasn't in his circle. I hate to say it. Like the guys that I knew were really tight. Like I was really in with the Score. I was really in with Mikey B. My best friend Pat Masters. We went to every show together. We traveled every single show together. Those guys are the ones that I really like. I knew the most. I wasn't the most popular person in the locker room by any means. I don't know. I'm not going to say that like it was a negative, but like I didn't have like wasn't part of the cliques. Like I definitely didn't hang out with Rich and the Chaotic guys whatsoever. I wasn't invited, nor was I looking for it. So I think sometimes that the shortness of it too. Like a lot of these guys I don't know. Even Ivar the Hansen. I'm so happy that you have proof that I teamed with the Viking Warrior. That's pretty cool because I mean, look at him. And be honest with you, he's probably the only famous person that ever reached back out to me when I've said hello or congrats. Every time I've ever done that, he's always at least said, you know, thanks or, you know, something, you know, just acknowledging my existence when he's at that level is pretty cool in my opinion. A lot of the guys don't. Like I haven't heard back from Mikey B since 2004. I haven't talked to that kid. I've reached out to him 100 times. You know, a lot of the names they just rather forget or they know so many people that they can't remember. But he always said what's up, and that was cool. But when we were, you know, in the same locker room, we didn't really get along really well. We were almost identical to each other. And I was kind of like more of a friendly with everybody, but he was like, nah, dude, you know, I got my boys, you know, kind of thing. We never hung out or really did anything socially at all, to be honest with you.
Any memories on his matches or his work?
Oh, hell yeah. I saw a spitting image. I was like, look at this dude. Like, he's a big dude, real cocky, very agile, always very agile. He can do things that a man half his size is supposed to do. And not to mention, he had that natural heel, kind of like that little bit of the evil grin, the perfect look. He gave the right notes to the crowd, great timing. And I did this too. Like you have to, when you're a big guy, you have to be a little corny about it, like a little over the top with a crowd. A lot of hand motions, a lot of body motions. He had that good going on very heavily. He was very good at that. I think he was very comfortable in there, is what I remember. He had a lot of confidence in his ability, and in a good way. He really it showed on the mat what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
How about Big Brian Rogers or Malonis?
He was a baby when we first got him. He came out kind of as our stable mate. But what I remember about him is he was a little different than my opinion of the rest of the Chaotic crew. He was very warm, very kind person, a little more humble. He joked around a lot. As far as I remember, we always had a decent relationship back there. It's not like we went out for beers or anything necessarily after, but in the locker room, I had a lot of respect for him. He was a big guy that took a lot of risk, really had untapped potential when he first started out. And I think it got developed over the years very well. He made the right calls. Not really sure why he's, if he's not doing much right now. I know Ring of Honor, when they kind of did their disbanding, I'm very surprised he was part of that because he was very talented. Definitely has a following. And I think him being a big guy can get a lot of attention the way he moves around. Ace Ramiro's like that. He runs around, does crazy shit for a big dude. You can never forget that. And he had that fame for throwing the guy in the crowd. It was a viral video. He shoulder blocked somebody into the crowd. As a big dude, I love that. Like I'm like I have to respect that, big guys that make it. But he was a really good dude. Really, like I said, a lot less ego than a lot of the rest of them.
Do you have any thoughts on the way NEWA was ran or booked overall? The way, I mean, it was great the way they had constant shows and that we kept storylines going. It seemed a little different than what other promotions were doing, in my opinion, at that time.
It was different. Like I said, the combining, I really like to focus on that, the chaotic and Yankee Pro gimmick that like George started it with. He went to the best of the best in the area that were accessible and just kind of was like mix and match really, really crazy people together. That and otherwise, the New England talent pool would never have seen these matches. He combined two of the strongest groups together with some of their fringe talent and some of their deep talent for that matter. The score, I can speak more from the Yankee side, but the score coming to NEWA, they were legends in the South Coast. Like they were everything. They were the greatest tag team ever, in that group. Like they ran shit, quite literally ran shit down there. For them to entirely as a group, and I'm not tooting my horn, but it was a big deal for me to go with them and Mikey B to go with them. That was a big deal. I was on my way up. Like Candido was going to be booking me to get the interstate title. Joe Eugenio had me in his sights to be a champion there. Literally out of his mouth. He's like, you will be a champ here. There's no question. So for me to go, that was a big deal too at the time. Mikey B, look at what he became. That's just from our side. Then you got Hanson, Kryptonite, even some of the smaller guys, Mighty Mini, all those guys from Chaotic, the Logan brothers. The talent pool was ridiculous. It was like fantasy camp for George. He was like, I wish I had all the New England talent in the world here. Well, guess what? Poof, all of a sudden, all the New England talent in the world was there. Pretty cool. Wish I would have won a belt. I never won a championship in my career. That would have been the place that I would have liked to have been the champ. I think I could have carried the main events and wrestled some talent and some big guys. I never got the opportunity.
It almost seemed like he was lining you up for it at the end there, towards the end.
Oh, for sure. He was having me work the Chaotic crew. They were the bigger draw. A lot more screen time, if you will, because of you, with Hanson, Camp Cairo. You can even see in one of the only videos that we have of us coming out, we were in the top of our game when it came to like indies. Like we were bright, shiny objects out there. Like we had a lot of confidence, a lot of heat. Cairo was good. I don't think me and Hanson needed a handler too much. We probably could have fought over the mic. But Brian Cairo's a great guy too, though. I drag raced him one time. And my crazy ass wanted to win. I lost, but that was so I wouldn't, kill myself and everyone in my car. But I drag raced him once in Quincy. We were just at a light and I was being a dick, and he called my bluff. So, but aside from that, he was really just a cool, chill guy, very helpful, very observant to the business.
Did you like or not like that the whole Camp Cairo angle?
Oh, I mean, I don't think it was necessary. Like me and Hanson were good on the mic. I probably would have booked me versus him more. I think me and him could have had some really ridiculous matches. We would have seen some big guy high flying stunts. We would have been very stiff with each other for sure. That wouldn't have been a friendly neighborhood, fight. That would have been a grudge match kind of. And it also would have been very prideful. It would have been, the Yankee versus Chaotic a little they could have done, like this kid from the South Coast versus the boy from Worcester. We both were locally well known to be big, loud, crazy guys. It would have been a really good feud. I would have booked it that way, but hindsight 22, man. I don't have any ill will about it. I probably, like I said, I would have wrestled him more. Maybe done some of the names. I wish I could have wrestled some of the more famous guys. That would have been fun. But be honest, everyone who's wrestled Beefcake and those guys, they're all like, it's really not a great experience. They're not willing to work with you much. They kind of just tell you what to do, and then you're lucky if you get anything off. So those are disappointing. I guess I wouldn't change anything just because, it happened the way it was supposed to happen.
I seen it as a good setup to head that way. The Camp Cairo thing, you two could have had disputes and headed towards a feud towards each other in the future.
That's true. It could have been snuffed a little early with my circumstances. I left pretty quickly, mostly relating to my father. He went through some shit and I had to help him. And I kind of had to give it up. And I told the crowd that too. I said, I don't know if you're going to see me elsewhere in the future, but I thanked the crowd my last show. I knew it was going to be my last show.
Yeah, I think with more time, we would have headed towards exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, man. George Carroll himself told me I don't know shit about wrestling. He's right. Compared to George Carroll, I don't know shit about wrestling. But in my little pea brain, I know quite a bit about wrestling, at least as a fan. I definitely could see a lot of potential in that.
But if you think about it, you two together, friends, you start bickering a little bit, boom, it escalates. Next thing you know, you two are in a hard-hitting feud.
Hell
like
yeah.
You just said, South Coast against North Coast, Chaotic against Yankee Pro. You got a whole big thing there.
I had that in my mind. That's what I wanted to happen. But like I said, he wasn't just waking up every day and saying, what am I going to do with Biggens today? He's dealing with a lot of different people, and I'm very grateful to be part of his story at all. It's pretty crazy that the guy that, like I said, the Wizard of Oz, if you will, who's been in New Japan and NXT, Ring of Honor, came up through with Bob Evans and Kevin Kelly and those guys, surpassed where they were, by a lot. He's done a lot. He's still doing a lot. He's best friends with Adam Cole, baby. I can't imagine what that's like. Just he's booking a show and then his boys go out there and they just wreck the house. And then he goes in the after parties with those guys. And his kids, his family and everything's had dinner with the Strongs and the Cole family and those guys. Like, I don't know their real names, but you know what I mean? That's his boys, man. That's crazy, but just to be a small, tiny, if he even remembers me like that, I know he knows me as a human being. We were boys, but it's pretty cool just to be a small part of his story.
Well, he's been with everybody. Kevin Sullivan, Gary Hart. He's told me stories. He says things I just, with my jaw open, I'm like, man, just to be in your shoes for, a day.
I'd like to just have lunch with him sometime, man. Give him a hug. I miss the guy. That's
me too, part. Honestly. Me too. Same thing.
I love the guy, man. He's a very special person, man.
And with the angles, it was always a slow burn. I used to always try to slow him down whenever we talked, and that's what he loved about me, and that's why he called me in, because I'd be like, why are you doing that? Why are they feuding? How come? You got to tell a story, George. You got to, seriously, that's what me and him used to always talk about. So if you and him were going to feud, there had to be a reason you were feuding. There had to be why. How did you get to that point? So if he was going to do that, he would have had to put you together, and he would have had to break up. And I'm a strong believer in all that. And George is too, because we used to always talk about that stuff all the time.
Well, even look at how it was booked. Like, you went to the same venue a lot. Part of that was because it was a good venue, or part of it is because something worked. But the cool thing about that is you can tell a story in indie wrestling, and that's really hard to do. You don't know who's going to show up every week, but the same people came to that show, the same Quincy fans, and they really started to love us. Like, I remember after, I was one of the most hated people in NEWA. I was a major heel there. There's no question I got heat there. And I remember people coming up to me crying when I said I was going to be leaving, we're going to miss you. Like, we're going to miss hating you. And that was really, I cried a lot of tears that night, thinking about how it was all going away. And I was really touched by the fact that people even knew, thought of me enough to even say bye. I used to get a lot of shit after the show. They took that storyline seriously and they hated me. So walking to my car, I would mostly be like, hey, fuck you, something like that. Feel free to bleep whatever, but that was just part of the gig. But that night it was man, I'm gonna miss you. You know, like I hope you do well. You know, that's really what wrestling's all about.
We always wanted that same venue, same fans. We really shot for that. And both of us would say that. What the Von Erichs had, they had the Sportatorium. All those successful things had that. What ECW had, they had the arena. You
Yankee
can't pop
Pro.
around and do all these different towns and expect to get over or to get storylines over. You got to have home bases in go to the same places, or at least close to the same place.
Oh yeah, Yankee Pro, a PAL hall and the training center. Those other shows were once a month, and that was just to bring some money in. We had shows in that same training center. It smelled like the Argentinian restaurant next door. It's a mix
of flea market.
Yeah, the flea market. And man, the cool thing, like I did ring crew, so like I was a trusted employee of Joe Eugenio. I really was. Like I also worked for the mayor's office as an intern. He was friends with the mayor. Mayor Kalis, he just passed away. He was a really good friend of mine early in my life. Did a lot of things to teach me some really cool shit in my life. But I was working for Mayor Kalis of New Bedford when Joe Eugenio worked in, I want to say he was in the traffic department, or he also worked in the prison system. So he was like a baby politician, but like we had that in common. We saw each other at a dinner for Mayor Kalis, and it was kind of weird because they didn't really know much about his wrestling stuff. He was a businessman to them. But he knew me, and I was at the table with the mayor, and that's pretty cool. I think that kind of gave us an in beyond wrestling, talking business. Like he was more, there was a lot of bullshit backstage at Yankee Pro. A lot of different people, a lot of different stories. No one fucked with me at all. And whenever he talked to me, it was more about business. Like, hey kid, like you got a shot here, you know, kind of thing. You know, always that type of banter, which that was cool. I was a young kid, so it was cool to have people be like, hey, like you got a shot. I really think they truly believe that, though. It wasn't just fluff. They didn't gain anything from telling me that.
Do you have any more stories or memories of NEWA that you wanted to get out before we went? Not that we're gonna leave right now, but before we run out of time, that you thought about that you wanted to get out?
I think the most memorable thing for NEWA for me is against Psycho. Psycho was this red-haired, crazy little bastard. Personality-wise, we didn't get along at all backstage for the most part. And like I said, I didn't get along with the Chaotic guys very much. And I hate to be negative, but it's just the truth. But not to say that they weren't awesome people, though. They were. It just is what it is. But Psycho, like George came up to me the first time I've ever seen him a little timid to ask me if you will, like to work somebody that's not known. Or he said, listen, Biggens, like I want to do some stuff, but we're trying to get Psycho. I think he had talked to Rich probably, or one of those Chaotic guys that kind of had his ear. And Psycho wanted a shot. He had been training up there and they wanted to give him a shot. And he asked me. And I was pretty enthusiastic about it, even though I wasn't, you know, I was like, man, let me wrestle somebody, man, you know, like, and he said, no, man, like, you know, I said, okay. So what I did was there was a famous match from Clash of the Champions, Vader versus Dustin Rhodes. And Vader smacks Dustin Rhodes around until nice, good old boy Dustin Rhodes tackles him and starts slapping him, just going ape shit on him. So I basically mimicked that whole match, and Psycho went over. He was over with the crowd because he shut up this big mouth Bobby Biggens in the ring. And it didn't matter who it was. I had the crowd pissed off. So anybody could come out and fight me. And I disrespected him, pushed him all around, and just let him go crazy on me. And he thanked me for that later. He was like, that was a really important day to him. And he'll never forget. It was really special.
Was he brand new at that time? I don't remember what you talking about. He wore a straight jacket out to the ring.
First match, for sure. First match, at least with NEWA. I don't think he'd ever worked an actual match before, like a real match. I think that was his first one.
I know he hung out with the Logan boys. I drove in with them, I think, or whatever.
The Logan boys, man, I told you, they're legends in their own right. You know, they always were very popular. Chicks loved them, people loved them. They were very popular, man. But yeah, I think he did ride in with him. He was a young buck. He was really young. You know, very timid. I just remember like he was very grateful. Like he thought I was going to be whatever. But I think he realized like I didn't have any ill will. I just liked wrestling and like being professional. And I know what it's like too, man, to be a young kid and starting out. And I was still a young kid starting out, but I had a hell of a lot more matches than he did in his under his belt. So I felt like it was my job to give him his confidence and boost him. And that was my job for the night. George had me working psycho because I was very nurturing and very safe. I didn't hurt people. And that was probably the best fit. Like if you would have gone in there with someone like Billy Kryptonite, you might have gotten hurt. Kryptonite beat the hell out of me his first time wrestling me. He turned it into a shoot right off the bat. And he was definitely on steroids. I mean, I had no shot against him. I was a teenage kid. So he's dangerous. So there's people like me that could be, they look dangerous, but they're actually pretty safe for the new guys.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to give anything on Billy Kryptonite. Is that all you want to say?
I thought he was an asshole, frankly. He was an asshole. He used to come back there. He asked me if I had ADD the first time he met me. And I was a teenage kid, and I was very respectful of him. He was on our turf too, man. He was from Chaotic. He came to Yankee Pro. He just acted like that to everybody. I don't think that ever changed. He just very unprofessional, definitely an asshole.
How about the family or the Made Men? They had a good feud with the school.
I love those guys, man. I don't remember. I don't talk to them at all. I want to say the guy that was Tony, the dark-haired one. Talked to him a few years ago on Facebook. I haven't seen them. We want to talk about have the whole package, man. Those guys they were lit, man. They were amazing talents, amazing people, great attitude, great locker room presence. And goddamn, did they work their ass off. They deserved all of the stuff they got. I don't know, I don't know if they ever made it or not, but they definitely had the look and they had the skill level that they could have gone very far.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to look them up or talk to them because their names is so like the family. How do you look up the family or Made Men? So much different stuff comes up. It's hard to find them.
Let me do some digging too, man. Because to be honest with you, I weeded out my wrestling list about a year ago. I started kind of getting negative. Just I'm not ever mentioned, man. I mean, like, and I was there during some really important times, but it's my own fault. I left when things started getting really serious. So sometimes it's negative to me, and I kind of cut my list down, but I can definitely see who I know. And if it's not me, I know enough people that you can get in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm always trying to find people and broaden people. Earlier, you mentioned that bridge that who'd you say was trying that? Oh, you said Teddy Goods is like that bridge. That's
Teddy
also
Goods,
what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be a bridge between everybody and connect people again.
If anybody ever says anything bad about Teddy Goods, I'd want to know why, because like I said, it didn't matter if it was a popular opinion. It didn't matter if it was like mainstream. Teddy Goods is real. He's always been an authentically good person who always tries like as hard as he can to include everybody. And it's impossible. He's best friends with guys like Steve Ricard, who's very polarizing, but he's also best friends with people like, he knows the Hardy Boys. I mean, he's serious, he's been through so many relationships and people, but he's always been so loyal and such a great person. And I mean, to balance that out just by being a real person is very hard to do. That takes a lot of courage to be that way. And he's just a great example of a human being.
Any memories of Bad News? He was a pretty big name back in the day.
Not really. I want to say he was working, what was that? We talked earlier, Damien Darkside, if I'm not mistaken. That's how I recognize Bad News when I think of him. There were some guys that were in NEWA before we got there. They were like John Fear and Low Life. I actually still talk to Low Life. Low Life's a hero of mine, man. What he's been through in his life and him just to be the way he is, I love that kid. Like I would do anything for that guy. Anything for that guy. He's a hero, really. But yeah, like we didn't talk much. There was a lot of like, you're on our turf when we first got there. And they saw the writing on the wall. Like George went and just got all kinds of fresh talent, like the best of the best, in the indies. And I think a lot of those guys felt like they were being replaced. And I can't imagine that was easy. So guys like Bad News and those guys, Damian Darkside was probably the most sociable to us about it out of that whole group of people. Not Low Life was just part of the fam though. So like that didn't, he was never ever like that with us. But I'm saying out of like the veterans and like the really respected bigger talent, Darkside's the only one that gave us the time of day.
I talk to Low Life often because he was in the Primal too, so I did a lot of with him with Primal too.
He beat me with a block of cheese. Probably one of the worst matches I ever had.
Government cheese.
I hurt myself so bad. I landed on my knees on a big splash. I was a horrible, like the match just didn't do very well. And then I lost. I got hit with the cheese, the government cheese, and 1, 2, 3, and he kept his title. But it was as a man, I love that kid, and he really is heroic. Like I don't stress enough the word heroic for what he's done with himself.
Yeah, with his wife and his kid and all that. I've talked to him extensively about it. He's and he's handled it so well and the things he's done since.
Anything that kid could ever need, if I can help him, I will.
Great guy. I did an interview with him and we were up till like 4 a.m. talking, or 3 a.m. or something crazy. It was like 4 or 5 hours. And at one point I paused it for something and we missed like 40 minutes.
Honestly, the only reason I won't be able to go too much more is I do life coaching for free. Haven't done it for a little while, but I'm helping my neighbor today. It's a little program I invented, and she asked if I could do it with her, and we're going to go over, and my wife and I, and we're just going to chill and have a little cannabis session, some career and some life stuff, helping her out. I don't come from a religious aspect or anything like that. It's more business, but I've helped a few people out, so I do it for free, and if it helps anybody, it's worth it.
Was it you that mentioned Bloodstone to me?
Oh my God, you got time for him? Yeah, RDW royalty, man. He was one of the he was one of the original RDW guys. I met him at a backyard invitational. This guy Dave Mendes, who also wrestled RDW. He never went pro. He was just a backyarder, but man, really important to the area at the time. Another guy, Adam Impact, went to high school with me. He didn't make it big either, but I think it was a confidence thing. Adam Impact's one of the best workers I've ever known, but he never went pro. Bloodstone used to be what would be like utility talent at NEWA. He wasn't guaranteed a spot on the show. There were a few guys like that. There were guys that would hang out, and if they got a shot, they got a shot. Well, George was going to have me wrestle somebody, and I don't remember what, and it was just a whatever kind of match. And I said, "Hey, George, like the kid right there, like he's better than me, and he's just sitting here. Can he have a match with me? I guarantee you it'll be good." And I asked him to wrestle, and he had his first match with NEWA against me. We did all kinds of stuff I don't normally do because I just knew how good he was. I was like, you have no idea. Like I have a secret weapon tonight. We're going to look really good out there. That'd be a match. If you can find that, that'd be sick.
I'm looking at it now and I filmed the match, but I ended up going outside halfway through the match because Jose and them had a big brawl outside.
Yeah.
And I think I'm filming and they grab me. Hey, outside, there's something going on. And I go outside and film.
That's okay. But just the same, he was still a great talent. I think his size was kind of what hurt him, like to get big. He was just a small guy. His talent though was bar none. Like, I mean, he lived wrestling.
But I have half the match.
That's cool. Hey, I know though that at the time it meant a lot to him.
So it's not totally lost.
That's cool. I'm sure you have a lot of cool stuff, man.
Oh, I have all of that. Everything that happened in that time frame in NEWA, I have.
The Yankee stuff's so dear to my heart. Not to say anything that NWA is, NEWA isn't, but the Yankee was just so like, it was so important to me because, well, Mike Edwards brought us in, took a chance with us, and some of us did really well. Some of us didn't do that much with it, and people like me and Pat in particular, like that was sacred time. That's sacred time in our life.
What do you think about Jose Perez?
We were really tight back in the day. I think he is another He's kind of like a Teddy Goods, very strong in the locker room, his presence. A lot of people like fighting for his attention a lot of the time, which that comes with a lot of responsibility. Early on, he was, pivotal in developing with me. He took a lot of time with me. He would talk to me after hours on chat. We lost touch over the years. I think a lot of it, he became a promoter, and you can only talk to so many people. You know what I mean? You run out of time, you run out of space. George goes through the same thing. I'm sure he'd love to keep in touch with people more. There's only so many people that he has time. And you have a choice when you're in people like us. You can either take it personal or not. Most of the time I do, because I'm an asshole. But just the same, like, I miss Jose. I would like to in touch with him. I don't even think I'm friends with him on Facebook anymore, but I don't think that was him. I've actually lost friends sometimes because my son has my phone. But sometimes it's just me, and I'm just like, hey, I'm going to forget about wrestling or whatever, and I go and try to do something else. I have the bug. I'll never get rid of it. So it's like being a drug addict. Jose is part of that drug. He brings very strong emotions to me about wrestling. He was one of my biggest matches I've ever had. That was, you did the promo. You filmed it. I know that was you. I was very emotional even in the promo. That wasn't acting. I was wrestling a hero of mine, a huge name, somebody who's well-respected, fought New Jack and wrestled all over the place, and is one of the most dangerous people, like, character-wise, East Coast intensity, Jose Perez. Couldn't slightest be from the truth. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jose, if you pissed him off, he was a dangerous mofo. Tough dude. Like, you don't go and mess with him. But sweet man, very cordial and very willing to teach young talent the rights and wrongs, even if it's not popular to the young talent. He'll tell you what's up. Say, that looked like shit, man. Or, yo, that looked good. That's Jose. And he doesn't give a fuck. That's Jose. But strong emotions. I love the man. Really, really cherished my relationship I used to have with him.
You had a match with GED here too, which is Teddy Goods.
Oh yeah. GED, Teddy Goods to me was another one. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I used to go to all of the Whaling City festivals and everything, and he did as well. And I used to say I was a California kid. That was going to be my name. I have family out in California. And I remember young Teddy Goods was like, "You're not a California kid," at a show. And I know it was him because it looks identical and everything. And we used to always go. We weren't together or friends, but we saw each other, I'm sure, growing up at those shows. One of those shows, actually, I held up Steve Bradley's hand after he beat Sky King. I got to hold his hand up in victory, which was like one of the coolest moments of my life growing up. Didn't know him when we were older, though. He was already way super bad Steve Bradley. Like, I had no, business dealings with him or anything. So, but that's somebody. But Teddy Goods brings that, like, he's so, that match was cool, man. I mean, that's somebody that, like I said, he's like a constant in pro wrestling. Even when I was a kid, he was in the crowd. But that was special. Anytime I wrestled the Yankee guys, it was special. Or in this, in Anthony Stone's case, RDW guy, that was special. Like, Scott Levesque's a big name now. I wrestled. That was my first match in the ring, was against Scott Levesque for the RDW Heavyweight Championship. That was my first match ever. He's another guy. He's huge now, but he's an RDW guy. Teddy Goods belongs there. He used to come to the shows even. He was friends with, like, the fringe guys, the Suicide Championship Wrestling guys, Eric Medeiros and Cinna and those guys. Dre from EOS. Let me give a shout out to him. Rage, another guy, Eric Rage. He's in North Carolina now. He's a comedian. Those guys were pivotal in us coming up. They developed and loved us and cared about us and protected us and did all that. Teddy Goods is right there with him. He was just a little younger.
We got 1 minute.
No problem.
This thing sucks.
Well, we can schedule another time. If it just depends.
You gotta go anyway. But I thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
I hope I covered stuff for you. I hope there was some good stuff. I really appreciate this, Chops.
Well, I appreciate it. You doing it.
I hope this wasn't in any way a waste of time, and I hope that people enjoy it. And I miss wrestling more than I could ever tell you. So
No, it's never a waste of time. I love talking wrestling. You know, we got a lot of information. We get to hear a lot about the old times. It's always good.
Anytime, Chops. And like I said, if you want more, we can. And let me know. And I wish you the best until then. And I just hope that we can do this again sometime.
Cool. Same here.
Oh, and go Pens.
I'm watching the Bruins.
Well, I'm sorry.
They got killed last night.
That's all right, man. Go Pens.
This is the Hardcore Nightmare, the original Beast of New England. I'm here to tell you, follow my boy on Chop Videos. Hit the like button. You can find me on @BullDread on Instagram or Michelangelo Kalo, a.k.a. the original Beast of New England on Facebook or @BullDread on Twitter. Woo!
Hello, wrestling fans. This is Brickhouse Baker, 2008 New England Hall of Famer. I need you people to do me a favor. I need you to go to Chops Video and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Again, that's Chops Videos. Go check this out because this guy's got some really good stuff from back in the day. Peace out. I am the Underground King, SWB, New England Hall of Famer, Test of Strength founder and head coach. Looking for classic wrestling videos featuring New England Hall of Famers and legends? Check out Chops Videos on YouTube.
And it turns out there is a path you can take around two moving black holes that haven't quite collided yet, where you can end up in the past of when you started that journey. It's backwards time travel, according to calculations from Einstein's general relativity, is enabled by the severely distorted fabric of space and time, such as what you would get with black holes that came in their own proximity.